Claire Wilson starts teaching at Westerbrook High School and meets her student Eric, who wants her to tutor him so he may get the needed SAT score and attend the University of Texas, just like she did. The woman accepts, but decides to hide the tutoring sessions from her husband, Matt. Eric also decides to inform his best friends, Josh and Logan. After a few days, Claire gives the student a tour of the University of Texas. They meet Cody, Logan's elder brother, and Eric presents Claire as his friend. The day after the trip, the student kisses the teacher after class, forcing her to drop their tutoring sessions and advise him to stay away. The next day, though, he begs her to think again, promising never to do anything wrong again. She waits for the student to arrive before their next lesson, but he never comes. At a school dance, Claire becomes envious when she watches him dancing with his ex-girlfriend Allison. When she confronts him about not showing up for tutoring, he eventually explains that he didn't show up because he can't stop thinking about her. She eventually indicates for him to join her in her car, and they drive out to an empty parking lot where they ultimately make love. Eric returns home after their secret meeting, where his mother, Sandy, asks how the dance went, and he replies he had a lovely time. Meanwhile, Claire waits in her car outside her house, pleased and in wonder over what has just occurred. She then enters the home and finds Matt rehearsing with his bandmates. He invites her to hang out with them, but she declines since she is weary and would rather go to bed. In his room, the teen sits on his bed and revels in the fact that he just slept with his attractive teacher. The next day, Eric meets up with Logan and Josh, and when they ask him where he was last night, he says he wasn't feeling well and headed home. However, when Logan steps away, Josh tells the teen that they've known each other since they were kids and knows when he's lying. Again, he asks him what he was really doing after the dance. To satiate his friend's curiosity, Eric says he was with a girl he met at work and adds that things are complicated at the moment. Minutes later, while fondly remembering the events last night, he texts Claire that he can't stop thinking about her. The message is viewed by the woman, but she instantly deletes it from her phone. Allison confronts Eric on Monday about why he left the dance without notifying her. He apologizes and claims he was unwell, but Allison isn't convinced and goes away. The kid can't help but gaze at Claire as she distributes their graded papers in class. When she delivers Eric his paper, she compliments him on a job well done, and he smiles. Later, the teacher requests a private meeting with the teen. To his joy, she instructs him to meet her at their usual site after football practice. While waiting in the quiet parking lot, Eric comes across Claire's latest post on the internet and likes it. The woman receives the notification, notices that the kid liked her post, and swears angrily. When he gets into her car, she barks at him for liking her post and reminds him that her husband may see it. She wants them to set ground rules for their arrangement, such as not telling anybody about it, meeting only on Mondays, no hidden meetings on school premises, no photographs, and that he change her phone number. He shows her that he already changed her name on his phone and unlikes her shitty pics, as she requested. After they've agreed on the terms, she announces that it's Monday and goes to undress so they may make love, and he claps her so hard that her poor ancestors feels it. Claire returns home that evening to find Matt having made dinner. After noticing her disturbed expression, he asks whether she's okay. She declares she is well, but she had a horrible day at work. He draws her over for a hug, and she begins stripping off his clothing to satisfy him. She is like, "I can do this all day." Days later, as Eric is at school with his pals, he notices Claire, who is on the next floor. Claire asks Catherine, the French teacher, if she wants to go out for drinks on Saturday, and she agrees. On Saturday, Eric stays home to babysit his brothers while their mother goes on a date. Meanwhile, Claire and Catherine have drinks at a bar. She heads to the restroom, where she impulsively takes a suggestive selfie, which she then sends to the student. He enthusiastically responds, but when she says she wants to see him right now, he says he can't, to her disappointment. When she doesn't respond, he changes his mind and says he'll be at their usual spot in 30 minutes. Before he leaves, he asks Leanne to watch his brothers while he's gone. Soon, he reaches the parking lot where Claire's waiting for him in her car. She immediately wants to start making love, but Eric stops her. He explains that her message confused him, seeing as she was the one who established the rule that they can only meet up on Mondays. She rejects his fears and kisses him again, but he stops her to inform her that he doesn't only want to sleep with her. The kid claims he likes the woman because she's educated, gorgeous, and unlike anybody else he's ever met. She responds, "I like him too," making a joyful smile from Eric, and they begin to make love. When the student later enters the house, he sees his enraged mother. She inquires as to his whereabouts and why he left his brothers with someone else. He lies and claims he went to Logan's to return a textbook, but she knows he's not telling the truth because she spoke to his friend. She informs him that his brother burned himself while he was away, and the kid feels terrible about what happened. Weeks later, Claire and Eric are at a vacation home on a huge ranch. He films the woman as she humorously gives him a tour of the home. As they gaze out the window, she wishes him a happy birthday before reminding him to delete the tape, which he does. During dinner, the woman discusses how she lost her mother to cancer when she was 9 years old. She becomes sad and apologizes, but he assures her that everything is okay and that he'd want to learn more about her life. The next morning, when they wake up in bed, her phone rings with a call from her husband. She takes a step back to answer it, and Eric observes her from the kitchen as she speaks to Matt outdoors. She ends the call by informing her husband that she must attend an event soon. When she returns home, she observes Eric acting coldly, so she apologizes and explains she had no option but to answer the phone. He starts to walk away, but she stops him. Seconds later, the youngster commands her to remove her underwear. The woman is taken aback by the comment, so he repeats it angrily. She obeys his commands, and he makes love to her at the table. The pair spends the afternoon in the backyard, and the kid teaches the teacher how to utilize illegal drugs. Claire says that she had never slept with a guy before marrying Matt. She claims it was self-imposed, that she never drank or dated in college. Then she asks him how long he's been with Allison, and he responds 6 months. The lady says that he will meet many girls at college and that he has the rest of his life ahead of him. He takes a step back, hurt by her remarks. Later, she follows him and queries his cold behavior towards her. Eric says that he disliked how she easily discussed the other ladies he'll meet in college, and how she'll return to her husband tomorrow as if this trip didn't happen. She explains that he won't want to be with her when he's in college, because he'll be done with her by then. Claire reminds him that she's risking her entire life just to be with him, and adds that she hates having to go home tomorrow because all she wants is to stay there with him, but knows she can't. When she starts to cry, he takes her in his arms, apologizes, and tells her he loves her. She says she loves him too, to the teen's delight. Then, they head to the bedroom to make love. The next day, the couple enjoys their last few hours alone on the ranch before driving back to town. Eric's mother greets him as he arrives home and says she hopes he had a great time on the trip with his friends. Before leaving for work, she wishes him a happy birthday and leaves him at the kitchen table with his cake. Claire, meantime, is in the bar, waiting for Matt's band to begin playing. Catherine soon arrives, and the woman expresses gratitude to her friend for accepting her offer. When the bartender fails to notice them, the French teacher steals a bottle from behind the bar and rushes out to the parking lot to enjoy it. Catherine inquires about Claire's weekend activities, and she responds that she was in Dallas for a conference. Catherine, on the other hand, thinks she's lying when she says she's been glowing recently and can tell she's having an affair. Claire, shocked, disputes her charge and claims she was on a work trip with colleagues from her previous school. She eventually gives in to her friend's persistent probing and admits to having an affair. This confession amuses the lady, who says she knows why she's doing it. Claire first refuses to tell Catherine who she is seeing, but when she discloses that the person she is seeing is younger than her, her friend's interest grows even stronger. She eventually tells the French teacher, drunk, that she is seeing Eric, her student. Catherine initially believes Claire is kidding and laughs, but as she discovers Claire is serious, her expression turns to shock and concern. She informs the lady that Eric is her student, and that having a connection with him is a serious abuse of power, despite the fact that he is officially of legal drinking age. Claire attempts to persuade them that they love each other and that they have a genuine relationship between consenting adults. Catherine, on the other hand, claims she has no option but report her friend to the school administration. The French teacher goes away, and Claire acknowledges what she's done and what's about to happen now that the truth is out. The next day, the woman's shame drives her to confess to Matt that she is having an affair with her student. Meanwhile, 2 police officers pay a visit to Eric's house to chat with him. They question him about his relationship with Claire. He claims she tutors him to help him with schoolwork, but he doesn't know much about her. When the cops inquire whether the instructor has ever done anything wrong to him or if they've ever messed around, he rejects the allegations. They do, however, advise him that the school was told this morning and that they are aware of the entire situation. They also mention that he and Claire went on a trip last weekend. They urge the teen to speak the truth because lying will not make the teachers or his life easier. At the same time, a heartbroken Matt chats with Claire's brother Nate, a police officer. He tells his brother-in-law that Claire's been sleeping with her student that she was tutoring. At first, the cop is skeptical of the revelation, but the man says his wife was the one who admitted to it. Nate tries to appease the husband by saying that if the student says it was consensual, maybe they won't press charges. Later, the student calls up the teacher to inform her that the cops came by his house earlier to ask him questions about them. He says he didn't know what to say to them, especially when they said that they knew the whole story. The teen begs her to tell him what to do, but the woman can only cry before saying she has to go, and ends the call. Meanwhile, Logan walks into his house and sees his mother, Victoria, on the phone. After the call, the woman informs her son that news has spread that Eric is sleeping with their teacher, Ms. Wilson. The teen is confused and in disbelief about the information. Matt arrives home that afternoon to discover his wife sobbing in bed. He claims that he wants to save their marriage. She questions him how he can bear looking at her right now, and he answers it's because they've been together for 10 years and he doesn't want to waste it. Matt goes on to say that he spoke with Nate and told him everything. He says they'll hire a lawyer and go to counseling, and he still feels they'll be able to overcome the problem. Logan and Josh talk to Eric about how the story has traveled around town. Logan contends that he was the student and she was the teacher, and the fact that she slept with him indicates that she has issues. When they underline that he shouldn't be concerned about what's about to happen to her, he claims they don't understand and walks out of the room. Matt informs Claire during dinner that he phoned in sick to work to take a few days off. She gets up from her seat and announces that she's going for a walk to get some fresh air. Outside, the distraught woman decides to get in her car and drive away. She soon picks up the student, and they park in a private spot. Eric apologizes for telling the cops everything, but she claims it's fine because they'd have discovered it regardless. When she expresses concern about what would happen to her life, he offers that they simply drive away and flee together. The lady thinks it's a strange idea, but the youngster insists that they are meant to be together and that he can't live without her. He declares his love for her and kisses her. They eventually find themselves at a hotel on the outskirts of town. Claire gets a call from Nate, who informs her furiously that he has been contacting her nonstop. He urges his sister to return home since the authorities are investigating an alleged kidnapping. And drunken Claire asks Eric in the motel room if she was a good teacher, and he agrees she was. When he expresses how special he feels since a gorgeous lady like her picked him, she dismissively states that he has destroyed her entire existence. Hurt, the youngster flees, but the lady drags him back to bed, where they make love. The next morning, Eric leaves a sleeping Claire in bed and walks out of the room to check his phone. He notices missed calls and texts from his mother and friends concerned about his well-being. Later, the teacher awakens, calls for the teen, but finds he's left her behind. Eric eventually goes home, where his mother embraces him. She then attempts to console him while he sobs in bed. Claire soon acknowledges what is right. She goes to the police station and goes gently towards the entrance. She comes to a halt midway due to her fear, but eventually makes it to the doors and surrenders to the authorities.